we're taping. Hi, happy Wednesday. I don't normally film these on the same day that I post them, but the week has gotten away from me, so I'm filming it right now and I'm going to post it right away. And if you are interested in doing a little yoga tonight, there will be a new class available on YouTube, courtesy of the Cedar Grove Public Library. So, gorgeous day out, right? October 1st tomorrow. That's insane. Insane. What else? What else? What else? Some kids are back in school here in town, right? Cam's going back next Monday because they do it by last name. So he's still at home at the kitchen table, and Alex is happily curled up in a chair in the living room. But some kids are back. I heard it went pretty well, so that's exciting. What else? What else do we have to talk about? I don't know. So I think we'll get right into it. We're going to work on forward bends today. I love forward bending. You can do them from almost any position, any angle. So we're going to do them down low on the floor. We're going to do them up high. We're going to play around. And as always, just because our focus is on forward bends, it doesn't mean other things aren't going to get the chance to open as well. Most notably your hamstrings and the back of your hips, which are going to be a nice welcome opening probably for most people, right? For me it always is. I got out early this morning. My husband had to leave for work by 8, so in order to walk and work out and get back before school started, I had to get out at 6:30. And it was kind of raining, it was kind of dark, but the thing that annoyed me the most was that my hamstrings and my Achilles above the back of my ankle into my calf felt super, super, super tight, and I'm not entirely sure why. It's been like that for a couple weeks now. So I was stopping periodically on my walk just to kind of do a quick forward bend or hang my heel off the curb and try to lengthen the whole back of my leg, but didn't help a lot. So we're doing forward bends for you and for me, and we're going to get the added bonus of lengthening down through the back of our legs at the same time. So grab your mat, lay on your back. Definitely have a little blanket or a little folded beach towel or something firmer that you can sit on and kind of scoot off of, because when we do our seated forward bends, both in the beginning and at the end, you're going to want a little bit of height just to tilt your pelvis forward and give you the ability to sit up really straight and tall and feel secure, not like you have to round over in your seated position. Other than that, that's it. So lay on your back, arms at your side, palms up, and I'm going to scoot back, and I will see you in a second. Can't decide today if I'm comfortable or cold. This morning started out chilly. I had like a parka on, like a windbreakery thing while I was walking, but it's more like a raincoat than anything else. Right now I feel pretty good, but I just opened a window. Alex keeps it like a nursing home in here. I came in this morning right before he started school, opened all the windows, put on my essential oil vaporizer, turned on like the little decorative lights that are around the room, and 5 minutes later the windows were shut tight, the lights were off, the vaporizer wasn't steaming up. I don't know what happens when he comes in here, but the whole room shuts down and goes into like nursing home mode. So you're on your back, your arms are up, your palms are facing towards the ceiling, and you're finding your breath here. Inhaling and exhaling, right? Inhaling through the nose, drawing the breath all the way down into your low belly, holding it there for a couple of counts, and then either exhaling it back out through the nose, or I want to give you the option, because it's kind of an allergy time of year, if that's a little tricky for you and a little uncomfortable for you right now, inhale through the nose, exhale through the mouth. Why not, right? As Cam would say, why not? But either way, find a nice rhythmic breathing and stick with that for a little while, just while you're lying here. Let your body feel heavy on the mat. Let yourself feel like you're really connecting to the ground underneath you. Start at the top of your head, work your way all the way down to your feet. Take note of how you're feeling so that throughout your practice, you can either go deeper into things or pull out of things. Do you hear the puppy? She just woke up from her nap. But we're going to keep her where she is until we're done with this. Otherwise, it won't go well. So. See, even flexing my feet back, I can feel the tightness in the back of my calves, my Achilles. It might be my sneakers. That could be the problem. Sometimes I can tell. Usually I can get like 6 months out of a pair of running shoes. And sometimes I can tell sooner than that, just because of the way I start to feel muscularly. That might be the issue. So I hope you've had a good couple days since we were together last weekend, Saturday, right? We did a class. So I hope you've had a good couple of days. I hope you're healthy. I hope you're keeping busy. I hope if you have kids in school, everything's going well on that end. I'm feeling like a rock star because I made a bolognese sauce the other day. My husband's a chef. He's a trained chef, and he gets mad at me for saying that because I use ground turkey for everything. I don't use ground beef or pork. We like ground turkey. And he gets annoyed because apparently it's not a true bolognese. It's just a turkey meat sauce. But I like the way bolognese rolls off the tongue. So I'm feeling pretty good about life because I made that the other day. So that's in the fridge for dinner tonight. And then I made a Italian wedding soup. That's in the fridge for dinner tomorrow. And I have all the ingredients for chili for the next day. I'm kind of feeling like I'm on top of the world as far as my meal planning goes. It's only 3 days. It's really not on top of the world, but I'm feeling fairly organized in that part of my life right now. And that's a tricky part of our day because unfortunately things are back to normal enough for us that everyone's going in different directions at the end of the day. Sometimes Mike works late. Sometimes both boys have swim at different times. Sometimes just one boy has swim. Tonight I have to teach a class, so it's rare that we're all at home for dinner at the same time. And I was with my family doctor yesterday, and we were talking about it, and I was like, I kind of missed like April and May when we had nothing on the calendar, and we were all home every night, and we literally played charades after we ate dinner together, and it was so nice. And now everyone's going in different directions again. So, oh well. All right, bring the arms out wider. If they're not, pull the knees in using the core muscles. Drop your legs over to the right, coming into a twist. Legs go to the right. You're going to focus on the back of the left shoulder, the back of the left arm, rolling it out from the back of the left shoulder blade out through the fingertips and trying to get everything flush and flat on the ground. That's what you want. So I'm doing this thing with my best friend and her sister and some of her sister's friends. So Nancy and I are here in New Jersey, and her sister and all of her sister's friends are in California, and then their dad is in Ohio. But it's a group text where every 2 weeks, we establish our workout goals for 2 weeks. So if you're going to walk or jog, you say, well, I want to do this many miles in 2 weeks. If you're going to do yoga classes, you say, I'd like to do this many classes in the next 14 days. If you're going to strength train, you incorporate that. So the new cycle of 14 days started Monday. So I put in, what did I put? I think 40 miles in 14 days, which is kind of what I typically do. So that's like lowballing it a little. I think I accounted for 12 days, not 14, just in case it was rainy or something. And then I think I put in 4 one-hour yoga classes, and then I strength train Monday, I strength train Tuesday, Thursday, and then 1 weekend day. That takes like 20 minutes though, that's no big deal. But it's not competitive, it's more just encouraging. So every day you have to submit some kind of proof that you did what you said you were going to do. So I do like a screenshot of my Nike running app or something like that. and then everybody's just like, oh, good for you. You got out early. I saw it was raining in Jersey and you still got out. So it's very nice. It's just like a nice, encouraging group of people that are just kind of in your corner. So we started doing that this week. That's something new that is going on. Bring your knees up to center. Come on into happy baby, or one hand on each kneecap, going wide with your legs. Watching Cam to make sure he doesn't steal ice cream, because it's Ice Cream Wednesday. Yes. And today in school I caught him watching YouTube instead of doing science and social studies. So we are skipping Ice Cream Wednesday in our house. Okay, knees are in. You're going to drop your knees over to the left and focus on the back of the right arm. I'm sure that you guys have this little twist down pat by now, because this is how I start every single class. But I don't know, but we might be out of oranges. But it's my favorite, and so I really like starting this way, and I like starting with the twist. I think it's an easy way to work yourself in to a little bit of a practice if you haven't practiced in the last couple of days, or if you're feeling a little stiff, or, you know, regardless of the weather, a little twist always feels good. I don't know what's going on. All kinds of noise from the kitchen. Cam, please stop. I can't wait for him to go back to the knees up to center. Happy baby, or one hand on each kneecap, going wide with your legs, bottoms of the feet facing the ceiling, knees pulling down into the underarm area. And then, as always, find your movement. So a forward bend, the definition of a forward bend is when you hinge at the waist. So you can do a standing forward bend. You can do a seated forward bend. When you come down into child's pose and you're on your knees and your lower legs, that's a forward bend. When you're doing anything where you're kind of like connecting your upper body, your chest, towards your thighs, you're bringing it in that direction, that would be a forward bend. So it's one class of poses that you can approach from a variety of directions, and that's just what we're going to play with a little bit today. So I thought we would start seated, and then we'll move up to standing, and then we will probably go back to seated again, and then it will be time for a few minutes of rest. But I think forward bends are fantastic, and that they always make you feel rejuvenated. You know, they kind of change the direction of the lymphatic system for a quick second. I feel like they give you fresh oxygenated blood to your lungs, to your brain. This is all just me and how I feel doing them. This isn't, you know, scientifically proven. But but I love forward bends. I feel like they perk me up and wake me up. And so I figured midday, hump day, Wednesday, what could be better, right? All right, bring your knees up to center if you didn't before. You're coming back into one last happy baby. And then you're going to roll over to your right and come on up to sit, coming wide-legged. We're just going to start by circling in our hips, okay? I'm going to go to the left. You can go in either direction, whichever you feel most inclined to start with is totally fine. I just got a super good crack in my back. So I'm teaching outside tonight at Panther Park Softball Field, my Wednesday night group, which is such a good group of people. It's I think it's about 25 or 26 in the class right now, but it's just a really nice group. Everyone's kind of chatty, everyone's kind of friendly, everyone kind of knows each other. And most of them have been with me for quite a long time. They've been my regular Wednesday night group for a couple years now, which is super nice. I feel so fortunate to have that. But it's just really nice to spend time with them and to be outside. And I think tonight's going to be another beautiful night like last week. I'm just hoping that the field is dry enough that our mats don't soak up all that water. Yoga mats are deceiving. They soak up water like a sponge, and it actually will pool and puddle on top of the mat. So I'm hoping that that's not the case tonight. All right, come on back to center. Do you get what I mean when hey Cam, Cameron, please stop. Literally slurping through his straw the noisiest he possibly can. Literally. It's Wednesday. It should be Friday. That's like a cruel joke. Oh my gosh, oh my gosh. Okay. I need the Zen. I need the yoga. Okay. So do you get what I say when I talk about how you should sit up on like a little blanket or a little towel? I've always got like a little Mexican blanket at the end of my mat. And that's what I sit up on when I'm doing any kind of seated pose. So you want to sit up on it, but then you want to wiggle off of it. So just the very back, low, top portion of your tush is on the mat. Does that make sense? I'm mostly sitting on the ground on my mat, but I'm sitting up just enough on the blanket that my pelvis is tilting forward a little bit, and I don't feel like I'm slumping into my low back. I feel like I can put a little arch in my back, and I can sit up really nice and straight and tall, and that helps me when I'm doing any kind of seated pose, especially forward bends, to get more extension. And that's what you want out of it. You want to lengthen your spine, and to do that you have to get the extension from the low back out through the crown of your head. So sitting up on something is definitely helpful, definitely recommended, and it can be anything. I mean, heck, if you wanted it to be a book, it could be a book. It wouldn't be super comfortable, but it can be anything. So sit up on the very edge of whatever it is you have underneath you and extend your arms up. And we're just going to start to reach one side versus the other. So you're just shifting the stretch from the left arm to the right arm, feeling it down the side body. So when my left arm is reaching up towards the ceiling, I'm getting a left side body stretch. When my right arm is reaching up towards the ceiling, I'm getting a right side body stretch. And then from here, with my arms up, my fingers spread nice and wide, I'm going to start to bring my heart center down towards the floor. I'm not rounding my back, I'm not dropping my head, I'm just coming into my forward bend, letting myself drop comfortably to wherever that is. And then once I've extended out of my low back through the crown of my head, then I can start to round a tiny bit and find a slightly more comfortable position. So I've extended as much as I can, and then I'm going to settle into the pose a little bit, coming into my forward bend, my seated, wide-legged forward bend, and that's what I want you to do as well. Now, your hands may not be where mine are. You may be back here. Totally fine. Any kind of a hinge at the hip, bringing the chest towards the thighs, is a forward bend. So wherever you are is where you are, and it's still perfect for you. No. Cam, you need to stop and you need to go sit at the table. You're going to lose television for the whole night. No, you cannot. Ice Cream Wednesday is canceled. Totally taking advantage of me right now because I am in a vulnerable position. So, I'm sorry you have to witness such ugliness today in the Davis household, but this is what virtual school is doing to us. This is what's happening. Find your breath, and remember what we talked about a little bit the other day. When you inhale is when you kind of rise out of the pose. When you exhale is when you settle. So it's the same in a forward bend. When I inhale, I kind of lift up, I readjust, I reassess where I am. When I exhale, that's when I settle back down and let myself fall into the pose. So again, I inhale and I exhale. And then we're going to walk up, and now we're going to forward bend over each leg. So you have two options here. You can stay wide-legged, nothing wrong with that, or you can bring your leg into an S position. I don't know why it's called that because you don't really look like an S, but that's one option. Or you can bring the leg in this way. So it's up to you. My right hip is always super tight, so for me, this isn't comfortable. This is comfortable, or staying wide-legged is comfortable. So when you do something like this, you're starting to open the hip a little bit, even though you're going to be forward bending over the left leg. So you decide what feels best. I'm going to stay this way. I'm going to keep my left leg going out to the side at an angle. I'm going to flex the right foot because I want this leg to stay muscularly engaged and not just turn into mush. And then I'm going to shift my upper body so that I'm facing the foot of the left leg, so that I'm not still looking forward, I'm actually facing that leg. Okay? And we're going to start out much the same way, except rather than bring our arms high, we're going to keep them low. We're going to flex the left foot, and we're going to start to walk out on our cupcake hands. Okay? That's fingertips, so that, you know, if you wanted to be super cute, you could slide a cupcake under there and not squish it. Cupcake hands. So we're going to walk out, and again, we're hinging from the hips, but we've got the tiniest little arch in our low back. So we're extending out, we're not rounding forward. We're not doing that yet. That's going to come, but we're not doing it yet. So start to walk out, come to where you're comfortable. And every time you do this, you know, depending on the day, depending on the weather, depending on the time of day, depending on the time of month, this could change for you from moment to moment. You know, typically I'm pretty comfortable with this and I can get my forehead down to my knee. But the other side is not as comfortable because that's my tighter hip. But again, just like I said a minute ago, if this is your forward bend over this hip, that's 100% fine. We're both doing the same pose. We're both practicing yoga. We're just at different places with our hip tightness, or with our spine lengthening, or with, you know, how our Achilles are feeling or our hamstrings are feeling. It doesn't matter where you are, as long as you're attempting to do the forward bend, you're going to get the benefit out of it. Okay, so on your cupcake hands, walk forward to wherever you're comfortable. Extend out, right? Flat back, a little bit of an arch. And then when you're ready, take your deep breath in. And on your exhale, start to settle into the pose. And for you, that may mean starting to round a little bit and dropping the forehead. And then come on up. And we're going to switch sides. So what you did with the right leg while you were forward bending over the left leg may not work as well with the opposite side. So keep that in mind. It's okay if you switch it up from one side to another. I probably am going to do the same thing. You know when you're out walking or running or doing something, and you do something that takes like a quarter of a second, but you know it's going to bother your knee for a couple of days after. I did that last week. I was on the trail for like 10 minutes, and I rolled my right foot over a stick, but it was a pretty thick stick, and I could feel my knee just kind of twist a little bit as I did it, and then it was okay. But then in the next couple days, my knee was a little bit sore, and every once in a while it would hyperextend back behind me, and I kind of felt like I didn't have any control over it. So I made an effort to take some anti-inflammatories. I made sure I kept a micro bend in my knee when I was walking or jogging or practicing yoga for the last couple days. And then just today, this morning, when I was out walking, was the first day in a couple days that I didn't even think about it. So I think I'm doing the right things and I'm kind of on the mend with it. But, you know, sometimes knees and hips can be tricky. You know, they may feel fine, but you may have a really old injury, like a 20-year-old injury, or maybe you just have a little bit of arthritis in there, or, you know, or anything, who knows. So you may feel fine, and then suddenly you bend your knee at a big angle like this one, and it's not so fine. So adjust and move and figure it out as you go. That's what I'm saying. You're not committed or stuck to any one position just because that's what you decided to do on the right side. The left side's a whole different entity, whole different body practically. Okay, so fingertips, right, cupcake hands, lengthen up, start to walk out, and then come down to where you're comfortable. So first get the extension in the spine from the low back out through the crown of the head, and then as you exhale, allow yourself to settle into the pose. Freakin, come on up. So one of the tricks with forward bending is to relax enough into the pose that you lose the tension that's causing your spine to be crunched and tight in the first place. You know, I know that there are some groups of poses that people are really uncomfortable in, like inversions, headstands, handstands, arm balances. Sometimes back bends can be very uncomfortable or intimidating for people. In general, forward bends don't tend to bring out that kind of reaction in people. But yet, if we've got any kind of a back issue and we're a little bit wary, we're going to hold the tightness, we're going to hold the tension. We're not fully going to relax into the pose, and unfortunately, we're not going to get the biggest benefit out of the pose because of that. So you want to make every effort when you're in your forward bend just to breathe a couple times, to really try to release with each exhale. You know, don't even worry so much about what you're doing physically on the exhale. Just worry about letting go of that muscular tension and tightness, and you'll get so much more out of your pose. So one more time towards the middle, arms come up. As you exhale, start to fold forward. Start to fold forward here. Bring your hands down. So wherever your hands are landing right now, I want you to make a little mental note. Like, this mat is so old, it's got lots of marks and little divots and all kinds of stuff in it. So if I bring my hands out, I can kind of make a little mental note of where my hands are. And that's what I want you to do too. I want you to make a little mental note, even if they're back here. Just look for some little mark on your mat that you can go back to in a little while as where your hands have been. Okay, the reason we're doing this is because we're gonna do the same forward bend at the very end of class after we do a couple more standing ones. And I just want you to see if you make any progress with your extension. You know, even if it's 1/4 of an inch, 1/8 of an inch, you want to always try to go deeper into your bending. It's not about where your hands are on the mat, it's about going deeper into your bend and getting more out of it and lengthening the spine and putting more space in there where there wasn't space before. And so it's good sometimes to just take note of where you reach on your mat or where you reach along the length of your leg, and then you can compare and contrast a little. Not compete with anyone else, just kind of, you know, play a little game with yourself and see how it works as class goes on. That's all. So one more time, coming down. And then walk your hands up. Come on over onto hands and knees for me. Curl your toes under. So remember, we're doing forward bends with the intention of lengthening not just the spine, but the whole length of the leg, right? So what I want you to do as you're doing your forward bends, especially your standing forward bends, is try to get a little visual. Try to visualize from the tailbone out through the crown of your head. I had a teacher one time say that it's like a waterfall, and the water starts at the tailbone, and then as you forward bend when you're standing, it just cascades down your spine and off the top of your head. And I think about that often when I forward bend. It gives me a good visual, and I like visuals. It helps me to figure out what I'm doing in a certain pose, especially with yoga, if I can compare it to something else. So the idea of a waterfall starting in my low back and going out through the top of my head when I'm hanging upside down from the hips is a good one for me, because you want to picture all that tightness, all that stress, all that muscular congestion just rushing off you like running water would. So maybe use that for today as we do our standing forward bends. You know, the steeper the angle you can get, the faster the water's going to rush, and the more relief you're going to get in your back. And that's what we want. So, I don't know, maybe that will be good for you. Maybe that'll be helpful. Maybe it's just corny. I don't know. But it helps me. So, cat and cow for a minute. No forward bending here in cat and cow. Just doing it strictly because it feels good. But remember to keep that micro bend in your elbows so that you're not hyperextending. You don't want this. You want this. You want a little softness. one more. And then come to your flat back. Spread your fingers nice and wide. We're going to curl our toes under, lift up into downward facing dog, which is technically a forward bend, even though it's a fairly mild one. It's not a big forward bend. It's a gentle one, but it's a good way to get started with our standing bends. So come on up, downward facing dog. Release your head, release the back of your neck. Maybe turn your head a little bit side to side. Maybe you can release any tightness, any bubbles, any cracks that are just waiting in there to come out. Drop the heels. Lengthen through the back of your legs, right? Put that little bend in your knee. Press your hips up towards the ceiling. And then press down through your hands. Push your mat away from you, lengthening the hips back. Dropping the heels. And finding your perfect dog. Nice deep breathing here. We're going to walk back into a standing forward bend, a pike at the back of our mat. So on fingertips, walk all the way back to your feet. Check your feet, hip width and parallel. Sometimes when you're doing forward bends, people like a little bit more stability, so they like to bring their feet a little bit wider than they might normally. I know for me, typically, I'm about 6 inches with my feet. That's where I feel most comfortable and most in alignment. But sometimes for forward bends, people like to go a little bit wider, just so they feel a tiny bit more secure. So you decide for yourself what feels best. Come on up to stand. Head of the arm bones rolls back. Palms forward, inhale up. And as we exhale, swan dive all the way down. Drop the back of the neck. So here is where you might start to feel the tightness in the hamstrings and the back of the hips, into the back of the calves, into the Achilles. So fingertips to the floor, drop the head. Play with this a little bit. Engage your core, suck it in. See if you can fold a little deeper. See if you can create more space. And then from here, we're going to do 3 flat backs. So inhale up, flat back. Arch your back to do this, okay? Find a nice arch in your back. Exhale and fold. Inhale up. Exhale and fold. One more time. Inhale up. Exhale and fold. Now watch what I'm doing here. On the fold, I'm going to lift my toes up. Flip my hands over. I want the palm, the inside palm of my hand, to slide under my foot on both sides. And then I want to shift my weight into my toes so that I feel like my hands are pinned to the mat. I'm going to release my head, press out through the backs of my knees, which are tight. Lift my head a little higher, a little lower, lift my hips a little higher. And find a deeper forward bend. Now I'm going to scoop my hands out, but I'm going to try not to lose that deepness. So maybe you can get your whole hand flat on the ground this time. Or maybe you can get the whole back of your hand flat on the ground this time, whereas before it was just fingertips. So play with that for a second. See if you've gained any length in your spine and in the hamstrings and in the hips just by forcing a slightly deeper forward bend. One more inhale. Exhale and roll all the way up to stand. I like that one. I like that little trick of shifting your weight into your hands and really pulling yourself forward just by using your own body weight. I like that. I'm a big fan of that one. So come on up more towards the front of your mat. I'm going to cut my head off and you're going to step back with your left leg, coming into a very short, tiny lunge stance. I'm sorry, not lunge, warrior. So what I mean by that is my back heel is down on the ground, my back foot is flat, it's just angled. My hips are facing you, they're facing forward, right? I don't want any sideways hips here, I want forward facing hips. My front foot is flat on the ground. My hips are forward, I'm pressing out through the backs of my knees, so I'm not hyperextending, but I'm encouraging my hamstrings to give me some wiggle room here. I'm going to inhale my arms up. And as I start to hinge from the hips coming into my forward bend, I want to make sure that that right hip doesn't start to pull forward. So I might even have to put my hand there and turn it, and push it back a little bit. I want to make sure that I'm staying straight and that my hips are both equally facing forward. And then I'm going to come all the way down, one hand on either side. Even if this is uncomfortable for the back of your leg, don't give in and bend the knee. You're doing this with the intention of lengthening the back of the leg as well as lengthening the spine. So if you start to bend that front knee to kind of take away some of the discomfort, you're not going to get as big of an outcome in the back of the hamstring. Okay, we're going to do 3 flat backs here. So inhale up, exhale and fold. Inhale up, exhale and release. One more time, inhale up. Arms are going to come out, and you're going to come all the way up to stand. Release that front leg. Shake it out a little bit. Feels good. That side to me feels noticeably different. I feel like I put a big pocket of space in my hip, but my back's also starting to feel a little bit looser as we go too, which is what my main goal was in doing forward bends, right? So we're going to step forward with the left foot, and again, come into our short warrior stance. Hips are forward. So you figure out where to put that back foot based on where your hips want to be. You want your hips straight towards the camera, straight towards me. So if you need your foot out here, do that. I kind of like my back heel and my front heel to line up a little bit, but I do need my toes turned up more on one side than the other because that's a tighter hip for me. So here we are, hips are forward. We're going to inhale up. Exhale, start to hinge at the hips, come all the way forward, fingertips, right, cupcake hands. Remember what I said about not giving into that hamstring. Don't bend the knee to make the hamstring more comfortable. Don't hyperextend, but still encourage the opening and kind of, you know, suck it up with the tightness. If it's uncomfortable, it's because it needs to be lengthened. Three flat backs, inhale up, exhale and fold, inhale up, exhale and fold. One more time, inhale up, arms come out in front of you, come straight up to stand, shake that front leg out. So now hopefully both your legs feel pretty good, your hips feel pretty good, hamstrings feel better, if not good, better, right? We're going to do one more standing forward bend. This one's a little bit more intense. You can bend your knees into it if you need to, but the less you can bend your knees, the more you'll get out of the pose. So we're going to start with our weight on our left leg. We're going to cross the right foot over the left. This is our position for the whole pose. And then we're just going to bring a forward bend into it. So arms come up. As you exhale, start to hinge forward, fingertips to the floor. So you'll notice that you're going to feel this more in the back leg than the front. But this is such a it's just such a multitasker pose. The backs of the legs, the hamstrings, the backs of the knees, the hips, and then because of the forward bend, you've got the spine and the backs of the shoulders too, which is just everything. You're hitting everything big. Nice big breath in. See if you can exhale into this a little. And then come on up. Uncross. And we're going to do the same thing on the other side. So one side usually is a little bit less uncomfortable than the other. Hopefully that was your most uncomfortable side. Maybe not. I don't know. I don't know for me with this pose which one is my most uncomfortable side, because when my hamstrings are tight, they're pretty equally tight. There's not one that's worse than the other. And like I told you earlier, they're both kind of tight right now. So I don't know. Inhale the arms up. Exhale, start to hinge at the hips. Come all the way down. Fingertips to the floor. Forward bend. All right. Ground down through the four corners of your feet so you're nice and secure in your stance. Come all the way up. Shake everything out. That's a good one, right? Kind of a fun pose, a little bit of a balance pose, but mostly just this huge forward bend with all the added benefits of the back of your legs and the back of your hips. Come on down onto hands and knees. I hope you feel good. I feel pretty great right now. Like I said, forward bends kind of rejuvenate me. They kind of refresh my energy supply. So I hope you feel that way too. Start to cat and cow. One more, and then you're going to go into a nice, huge, wide knee child's pose. So this is going to be our last forward bend. Saved the best for last. I think most people I think would agree. Some people might not like this pose, but this is a super deep forward bend, and you're very well supported because your whole body is making a huge part of your body is making contact with the ground. So this is a good forward bend to come into when you need that spinal release, but you're just feeling like your balance might not be so hot, or you don't want to stand because you're tired. This is a good one to come into at the end of the day. So come on down. All right, guys, come on up. Make your way over onto your back for a couple minutes of Shavasana. Okay? So get comfy, spread out, stretch out, do whatever you need to feel good. Close your eyes, find your breath, let your mind wander here. Take a minute or two just to really enjoy and appreciate all that your body does for you on a day-to-day basis, but especially when you present it with a yoga class. And then take a minute to just enjoy the hard work you just put in and the payback you got from it. Hopefully you're lying here feeling better than when we started, right? Always what I want for you. All right, start to wiggle your fingers and your toes a little bit. Bring a little movement back to your body. Do you hear Cam snorting in there? Oh my gosh. God bless his teachers. God bless them. When you're ready, pull your knees in, roll over to your right hand side, come all the way up to sit, or just roll up to sit, whatever works best. The sun's out. It's looking pretty beautiful out. Hopefully you get out today, you get some fresh air, maybe just take a walk around your block if that's good enough. But as always, thank you for practicing with me. Thank you for spending your time with me. I really, really appreciate it. It's so nice that we're able to connect this way, even though we can't be together in person right now. This is better than nothing. So this was our 51st class. I really hope we don't go all the way up to 100, but you never know. And so far, this seems to be working fairly well. So stay healthy. Do something that makes you feel good. Thank you for practicing yoga with me today. And I will see you again this weekend. There will be a new class out this weekend, either Saturday or Sunday. So I will see you soon. And namaste. Namaste. Thank you.